The lonely soul who loved the sun. Vincent van Gogh, March 1853. In the quiet village of Groot Zundert in the northern Netherlands, a child was born in the home of Reverend Theodorus. His name was Vincent Willem van Gogh. However, this name was both a blessing and a heavy shadow. Exactly 1 year prior, on the same day, a brother with the same name had been stillborn. Young Vincent had to pass his brother's tombstone engraved with his own name every week on his way to church. This boy, living a life in place of the dead, grew up exceptionally sensitive and lonely, opening his heart to the flowers and birds in the fields rather than to people. As a young man, Vincent wandered through jobs as an art gallery clerk, a teacher, and a bookstore assistant. He clung to God, preaching the gospel to miners in the poverty-stricken coal mining district of Borinage, Belgium. Yet his devotion was too visceral. Seeing him give away all his food and clothes to sleep on the floor in rags, the church committee dismissed him, claiming he failed to maintain the dignity of a minister. At the edge of despair, rejected even by God, he finally picked up a brush. If it weren't for painting, I would have no way to soothe this suffocating heart. At nearly 30 years old, he foresaw his destiny in a letter to his younger brother Theo. During this period in Noonan, he captured the grueling lives of peasants. The figures in his work share potatoes with rough, weathered hands. He said, "I wanted to paint real peasants, to show that those hands they eat with under the lamp have dug the earth themselves." This was not just a painting. It was a raw record of survival through labor. In 1886, Vincent headed to Paris, the heart of the art world. Encountering the vibrant colors of Impressionism, his dark palette began to be drenched in light. However, the clamor of Paris frayed his sensitive nerves. Seeking the true sun, he departed for Arles in the south of France. In Arles, he entered the most brilliant period of his life. Dreaming of an artist's community, he rented the Yellow House and decorated rooms in anticipation of his colleague Paul Gauguin's arrival. The sunflowers he painted as a gift for Gauguin were more than just flowers. The blazing yellow represented the love and vitality he so desperately craved. When painting the terrace of a cafe at night, he captured the mystery of the evening without using a single drop of black. I find that the night is much more alive and richly colored than the day. The contrast between the golden cafe, glowing under gaslights, and the deep blue night sky shows just how passionately he loved even the darkness. Gauguin finally joined him, but the cohabitation of these two geniuses soon turned tragic. The rational Gauguin and the emotional Vincent clashed at every turn. The Night of the Razor. December 23, 1888. 2 days before Christmas, a cold tension hung over the Yellow House. The rift between the idealist Vincent and the cynically sharp Gauguin had reached a point of no return. After a day of trading harsh insults, Gauguin declared he was packing his bags to leave. The terror of being alone and the despair of losing his only artistic comrade completely shattered Vincent's fragile nerves. In a fit of madness, he pursued Gauguin with a razor, but was stopped by Gauguin's cold stare and returned home. In the silence of his room, hallucinations began to ring in his ears. As if trying to excise the sounds haunting him, he sliced off his left earlobe with the razor. Even in the agony of the bleeding wound, he carefully wrapped the ear in newspaper and handed it to a woman at a local brothel, saying, "Keep this object carefully." The next morning, Vincent was found, covered in blood on his bed, and rushed to the hospital. Once he regained his senses, he stared at the white bandages wrapped around his face and picked up his brush. The result was his self-portrait with a bandaged ear. His gaze in the painting is not one of madness, but of a transparency that feels almost calm. People pointed fingers and called him the mad painter, but by painting over his horrific wounds, he proved to the world that only art could save him. Unable to control himself, Vincent voluntarily entered the asylum at Saint-Remy. During fits, he suffered, intensely even attempting to swallow his paints. But whenever he was lucid, He wielded his brush like one possessed. The night sky outside his window became a massive vortex. Painting the stars, he wrote, "Whenever I look at the stars, I dream. If we could reach those twinkling lights, wouldn't death be the train for that journey?" In 1890, he reached his final sanctuary, Auvers-sur-Oise, under the care of Dr. Gachet. He painted about 70 works in 70 days, a final sprint by an artist who sensed the end was near. The cold architecture of the church in Auvers symbolized the isolation he felt throughout his life, and the wheat field with crows, with its turbulent sky and dead-end paths, was his final scream. On July 27, 1890, Vincent shot himself in the chest in a wheat field. Staggering back with a fatal wound, he passed away 2 days later in the arms of his brother Theo. "The sadness will last forever," were his final words. During his lifetime, Vincent sold only one painting. He was an unknown artist, constantly worried about the cost of paint, while relying on Theo's support. However, his flame did not go out after his passing. Theo, unable to bear the grief of losing his brother, died 6 months later. Yet, their unfinished story began to breathe again through Theo's wife, Joanna. She meticulously organized the hundreds of letters and works the brothers had exchanged and revealed them to the world. Only then did people realize that the rough brushstrokes on his canvases were not mere landscapes, but the heartbreaking confessions of a torn soul. The nameless painter who once fretted over paint. Prices became an icon of the ages. Today, Vincent van Gogh is remembered as one of the world's most beloved artists and the root of modern art. Resting side by side in the small cemetery at Auvers, Vincent and Theo remain together. Like the ivy covering their graves, their love and art are eternally entwined. Shining like the stars in the night sky,